Hey guys, um, it's been another draining day of coronavirus quarantine. Um, I don't even know where to start. Um, Today I helped Misty clear out her office because she'll be working from home and there'll be where she works. So there's that. Um, we just became uh, I don't know what you call this, the foster pet owners of some fish from her office. The biggest one is called shark bait, and there's a gray one that apparently was part of a trio that they called the Jonas Brothers, but now there's only one brother left. And I don't know which one that makes him because he was the gray one. And then there's two little orange ones that they call the Olsen twins. Not my fault. We didn't name them. So, yeah, she's just taking care of the office's fish and the hundred or so sea snails that were inside of the aquarium, most of which died in a giant snail genocide as Misty cleaned out the aquarium to set it back up. But you know you can't get rid of those snails. They'll come back. So, um, Bugsy, hi, how you doing? Notice that I'm in my old digs again. Got the microphones everywhere, and wait, there's one right there too. If you can squint your eyes and look. So all of this setup is actually going to be torn down, like most of it. Like some of the stuff that you see behind me that's all related to YouTube, the subscribe, the self-made painting plaque of like congratulations for 10,000 subscribers, the subscribe pillow, the rate thumbs up, all that crap. Maybe even the Bob Ross Chia Pet. I might have to move that too because I'm going to be turning my office into a practice rather than a YouTube centric place because I now work from home as a lot of other people in my field are having to do because when you're quarantined, that doesn't mean that people don't have feelings, you know, especially anxiety. That doesn't mean that I can't take a whole bunch of people's anxiety and lump it on my shoulders and then carry it with me all frickin' day. No, I can come home and do that same thing. So, yeah, I was up here just picking up things and uh, trying to organize a little bit. I want to keep a little bit of the aesthetic here, but I actually want to go back to that whole putting a bookcase behind me uh, because some people respond to that by thinking that you're smarter. You know, I'll let's say Rebecca Watson. You know that YouTuber. She's always got a bookshelf behind her, no matter where she's behind her. Um, yes, there are shelves behind me, but those are actually mostly filled with paintings, paintings. And I guess that works if I don't tell anybody what it is. But yeah, I want this place to look a little bit more, uh, I don't know, soothing to the eye because I'm going to be on camera with many people throughout the week. Figure mm, somewhere between 30 and 45 a day. So, yeah, got to look more professional. So, Also, a good chunk of my schooling has just gone online, just like a whole bunch of other universities. Mine has gone totally online, and that makes one little part of it kind of weird because every year they have this thing called intensives, where last year, and what that's meant to do is weed out the people who, you know, they can get A's in classes, but they can't really perform doing what we do. You know, you have to be kind of like a people person. You have to be able to face people, and yeah, that part's kind of just going to be through a screen like this. And I don't know that it's going to actually give people an accurate representation of how people would act on a job site. You know, I don't know. Bugsy says weddings are being canceled. My camera is just being used for my pleasure in the desert. Uh, well, Bugsy, at least you don't have to deal with too many contrails from planes. That's a big deal here in the Denver area. Is you can't really take pictures of the mountains without catching a bunch of contrails because we have an international airport. But when international flights aren't going back and forth, there's a lot less of those cons. Um, I just watched a video by Kane Cordova, who does live pretty close to where I live, and you know, I one of his paintings is actually in the background right here. This little square right here, that's a Kane Cordova painting. That's not my painting. You know, I was actually pimping his craziness all this time, and so his latest video is that since the coronavirus has hit, basically in the middle of his video, he said that it's been good for Mother Nature, you know, to get rid of all the people, you know, because he's not on hashtag team people. He's on hashtag team nature without people. Um, but yeah, he was saying that people should stay healthy and maybe work out from home, and he's got his own little home gym set up. That's good for him. I've got enough to do a yoga class, maybe. You know, I got my own mats, and I'm still stretching my leg that I broke last year to be able to get to the point where I can do, you know, that's good. Um, I'm sorry, Pluto. I got on early tonight. Uh, the reason being is that maybe I wanted to go to sleep. You know, this whole coronavirus thing has just been so draining. I want to get a little alarm to hit every time I hear the word coronavirus. That would be just like when somebody get on a game show gets the question wrong and goes because that's what it's doing inside of my head every time I hear that word. Anyways, I was going to talk to you guys about, and since it's about 10 minutes in and we've got some people actually listening and talking, Bugsy's talking about simulated dogfighting. Um, I was going to let you guys know that multiple people that I know are removed from, they have been receiving from their work letters that state where they work and who can be called to confirm that they work there. these letters are meant for people to travel with so that they can travel in the middle of uh, lockdowns. When I saw one firsthand, it very much reminded me immediately of Nazi occupation. Like, you can't travel without a piece of paper stating what your business is. And, for all of the political yapping over the years of, no, you're a Nazi, no, you're a Nazi, no, you're a Nazi, all it takes is for, uh, you know, a giant public scare to enact even more authoritarian measures. And I know that this is needed, and it's needed because it's going to save millions of lives. But the parallels are there. And when it's over and when we don't need it to save lives anymore, we don't them anymore. And in our lifetimes, I think that uh, we've had a parallel to this called the Patriot Act that I hope you guys are seeing where I'm going with this. There were rights that we gave up, and we were ready and willing to give up these rights when we thought we were going to war and it was going to help, and we were all shocked that people flew planes into the World Trade Center, and that was us they attacked. Let's go get them. Now we're going to have to drive around with papers stating what our business is. On the bright side, Robert Wallace, Hatred 42, he just posted on his Facebook that a club in the Seattle area has created a new delivery service called Boober Eats. They got to adapt to the times, right? So they'll be delivering food to your doorstep in masks and topless. Jamie saying that a single tear is falling from my eye, kind of like that commercial with the Indian chief. No, no. I'm actually just too stunned, really, to even have my own emotions about things. Um, some of you guys who've been here with me for the last 10 years know that between 2013 and 2014, I had a business and that business fell apart. And upon losing the business, I went through uh, a myriad of emotions, the last of which was relief because it was all over. But I do remember freaking out about what are my employees going to be doing and what am I going to be doing. I had these dreams that were all not going to happen, yada yada. Um, Now that the quarantine has happened, there are various people in different industries to get into, and some of them are in the restaurateur fields, the service industry, and they're worried about what will all their coworkers and employees be doing throughout all of this, and Yeah. Um, it started with the governor saying, okay, for the next 8 weeks, no restaurants, no casinos, no ski resorts, uh, only takeout food is allowed. So um, there are some restaurants that already had a takeout side to them, like, say, Chili's, Applebee's, and Red Robin, right? But other than the takeout, all the sit in dining is gone. So there's only certain people who get to work. So all of the wait staff and all of the dishwashers, um, they just have to sit this out. And when I see their tears, it hurts because I know that sadness, right? And I know that it's hurting me, but I'm still way too stunned about how quickly this has all gone downhill to feel that pain. I don't have time for my eyes to tear up the way that I feel like they probably need to, because I get hit with changes every day. There's a new change, a new part to this story. This morning, I just woke up. I went out to get some coffee, and the first thing I heard from Misty was that Italy had another 600 people die. And it had been like 400 more the day before, and that was 600. And uh, that echoed later on in the day when, on a Vox News blog post, not a video, uh, there was just a chart that showed um, how many days behind Italy we were. It's about 10, right? But the this was the first day that we're actually getting worse faster than Italy did. Um, so Jamie's saying no one's holding China accountable, and Hillary saying Trump and his minions have known this was coming since December. Um, well, Trump was trying to hold them accountable by he continues to call it the China virus, and when he was called on it in a press conference, that he's like, it comes from China, China, and he just doubled down on it. So there is one person trying to hold them accountable, but also prior to people realizing that this was going to be a problem with prejudice and ethnicity and all that, there was even a Vox News video about wet markets that were in China and how they came to be and how this virus, just like SARS, popped out of the sale of exotic meat in markets where animals are allowed to poop on each other, and they're in close quarters, you know. So yeah, they are to blame because that they have that kind of cuisine and they have those kind of dirty markets, that sell exotic meat, and some of it is actually poached. You know, the endangered species, the pangolin, which was part of the chain of what created this vaccine. They know genetically, and it has to be poached because it's not something that likes to breed in captivity, and it's endangered. They shouldn't be having it in cages. So Jamie says the virtual signaling will destroy them. Uh, and Hillary says the Spanish flu came from Oklahoma. LOL. Very well could have been. I know that for the Spanish flu, uh, because it was World War One era, countries were not reporting their numbers correctly because they didn't want to have uh, a strategic advantage given away to the enemy by saying, "Oh man, we are really devastated by the Spanish flu." So that was why the information was suppressed. Now, here in the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, we have China saying that their measures have been eradicating the new cases of the virus. They, in fact, reported, I believe it was yesterday, that on that day, no new cases had been found, which I think is bull pucky. How can you have down so tight that you could stop uh, a pandemic? No. You're still going to get like little cases here and there. So for them to say that they had a day of no cases, I don't believe it at all. So um, going back to the Johns Hopkins dashboard for coronavirus, we'll see that Italy just jumped up from yesterday another 6,000 cases and another 600 deaths. Worldwide deaths jumped from like 10,000 last night to 11,399. And every day it just gets worse and worse and worse. Um, if I were to calculate out again the death rate for Italy with 4,032 deaths today uh, and 47,000 cases, 4,032 divided by 47,021. About 8.57% death rate. And when I say this with like that certainty, that's like their known cases just divided into the number of people that have died. You know, um, yeah, you guys are trying to talk about the same thing in the chat. So yeah, it's terrifying. It shouldn't be this way, but I was just talking about another of these countries, Spain, whose numbers I also trust. 1,093. They're up over 1,000 cases today of deaths. They're at 1,093, and they have 21,571 cases. And that works out to a death rate of about 5.5%. Now, um, when California issued its lockdown of like 40 million people, the governor said that their models projected that more than 50% of people were going to catch it if they didn't do that. And they still might. It's not, when he tells people to shelter in place, it's just not got the oomph behind it that a Chinese tank has for their people. You're still going to have people sneaking around. At the same time, we've got uh, people on the beaches in Florida, congregating and trying to celebrate spring break. and they're all going to be returning to wherever it was that they were from. Driving on highways and going all the way back to whatever city they were from, just spreading it all over the place. You know, and at this point, I feel like the news has been out so much that those people I blame a lot more than those who went to the Post Malone concert in my city, even though Post Malone is not real music. He's not a real like rock star. I don't accept him. He just has facial tattoos. Okay. Yeah, he might have removed himself from civilized society by tattooing his face. That doesn't make you a rock star. Just because you look like you might be on drugs, um, concerts, and said there's no reason for people to uh, worry about him. So he's pretending. And even then, pretending like you're strung out on drugs does not make you a rock star. Um, anyways, France. Let's just do France's numbers because looks like they've got a spike today. 450 deaths in France as of today. And we're going to divide that by the 12,632 cases that they have. And in France, it's only a 3.5% death rate. And what I'm seeing is as soon as people uh, fill up all the ICU beds, that's when the deaths start really happening because the capacity is overfilled at the hospitals, and that's when people are dying in uh, higher numbers. And I think by now most people in America have seen one or more news outlets explaining this to them, right? And in the UK, there's Formula One racers that are trying to uh, come up with their own style of ventilator that they can produce. And in America, we've got car manufacturers retooling their uh, manufacturing lines to make ventilators because they see that we're going to need a shit ton of them, or else people are going to die in giant numbers. Now, it's a little bit harder with John Hopkins' board to China and American deaths because they break them down by states and provinces. So, uh, U.S. coronavirus deaths. Let's see. It's still hard to pin it down. How many have died? Did the death toll surpass 200 on Friday? This is Friday, so we're just going to take that number of 200 from the New York Times. Okay, and then we're going to go back to the Johns Hopkins case counter, and we're going to see that the U.S. has 19,624. All right, so 19. Wait. Hold on. 200 divided by 19644 equals. We are experiencing a 1% death rate so far here in America, right? And that's because we have uh, the advantage of time. We weren't the first people hit. We've been able to mobilize our response to it. And unfortunately, it's also because this is very early in our pandemic stage where the with each day because those confirmed cases will start dying more. But then there's the fact that in the US we have a shortage of testing kits. So our actual infected is probably way worse than that. So I'll call it an offset. Like there's plus and minus to how we should actually be calculating this. Actually, we should probably wait a couple days to see who in that data set of who has it right now actually dies in that certain amount of time. And that's just not stuff that I'm privy to. So, World Health Organization says 3.5%, and that's revised up from what they were saying before that. But I think that my main point here is if California thinks that like half of everyone in California is going to get it, and there's 40 million people in California, I can just multiply, you know, half of 40 million people, 20 million people, multiply that by 3.5 that the death rate will be, and we get California loses 700,000 people. You know, so I'll be helping my uh, practicum site get up to speed on how to do telehealth because I'm already set up at my main job doing telehealth because I help them set up their Zoom rooms. And yeah, different agencies are going about it a different way. Yesterday morning, the blanket statement went out that all places are allowed to do telehealth until July 1st. And I think it'll be well beyond that because we're only going to ever let up on our quarantines just for a little while to put them right back on because uh, the minute that you measures and let up on all that, the numbers will just increase again until you've completely stamped it out everywhere because you'll just have people getting reinfected. And then there's the whole it's biphasic, so there's people infecting people when they don't know, and then they have the symptoms and they know that they should be self quarantining, and then they feel better while they're still contagious, and it's still spreading. So yeah, this this is going to change the whole fucking world. Um, this is going to be one of those things like the Black Plague that puts a dent in the logarithmic growth of the human population, you know? And when I say these things, I really feel like it falls on deaf ears. People are looking at me like the dog in BMG music. Uh, and he's looking at the record player and he's like, huh? Huh? He's just turning his head like, what the fuck? Where's that sound coming from? That's what I feel like people are doing. And like I know I look shocked and tired and like the bags under my eyes have been growing every fucking day because I see this coming. And I know that uh, on some website somewhere, I'm probably a lulz cow for people who are freaking the fuck out about all this shit and making videos every night about how you guys should be freaked the fuck out about this shit. But this is the real deal. Like, and still there's the Strange Observers websites out there looking at like You know, aliens are going to hide behind sunspots. We need to keep our eyes to the skies, people. But I'm going to be on a lolscow site. So, anyway, for posterity today, I'm going to read to you guys. Let's see. Hi, Quintica. Hi, Spurtleberry Farm. Yeah, Spurtleberry Farm is they all got together and voted in the same places. You know what? I just learned yesterday that Costco has the ability to count how many people go into Costco every hour. They have a little uh, clicker like thing. Like they can have someone sit there and just click on their counter, but also they have just a way that the camera will just count different people and track different people coming in the front in a weird sort of you know photo identifying people's facial features and all that. The camera just knows, okay, that's a different person, that's a different person, and it gives an accurate count. So Costco has about 600 people go into the front door every hour that it's open on average. And the president starts with, oh, well, okay, 250 people or more, because the CDC says so. We'll just cancel all those events, please. And he's like, okay, 50 people is what the CDC is saying now. Okay, now we're going to go with 10. You know, places where more than 10 people are going to show up, you need to, cancel or postpone that, except for grocery stores. And I heard a tale of somebody actually moving their wedding to a grocery store in Spain to get around the whole can't have more than 10 people in a place because you could have 50 in a store in Spain. So far in America, apparently you can have as many people as you sell things, but you can't have more than 50 people in a store in Spain. And even then, I really think that people should go to online ordering with a pickup service where they just like pop their trunk and then the people put it in your trunk for you. And they're wearing protective gear. I think that's what we should go to, just to really lock down and hunker down while this virus spreads over our whole country. I think we need to do stuff like that, or just have order uh, delivered to your house from Walmart, where they leave it on your doorstep and they do not come within a couple feet of you. Um, and maybe you have a password that you put it on the website that you say, you know what, um, sugar boogers, and then they just fucking back away and they consider that your signature because holy fuck, this is gonna kill a lot of people. Okay, now because I need the numbers. By the way, also, why the fuck are we doing a census before the coronavirus pandemic wipes out a good number of people? You know why? I don't know. But okay, Google right now says the current population of the U.S. is 331 million people. Okay, 331 million people. That's probably not counting undocumented people, but whatever. We'll just go with documented people. And then we're going to multiply that by 0.035. Comes up with, if we're going on World Health Organization's numbers, 11 million people dead. My initial estimate was between 2 and 4 million people dead, you know, but they're saying 11.5. And now we could try to do the Chinese measures and really clamp down on this thing and try to get Chinese. Let's see. Going back to the Johns Hopkins dashboard, Hubei is still saying 3,139 deaths, but if you count all the different China provinces, we'll just call it 3,200, right? And then divide that by all of their cases, which is 81,286. So China's got almost a 4% death rate. It used to look better than that. I don't know what's wrong with their propaganda machine today, but they used to boast a lot better numbers than that. This is going to be like the biggest event of all the millennials' lives. Okay, so for me, it was when I was really young. Where were you when the Challenger exploded and sent the rockets in a little weird pattern? I was underneath the pool table in my grandfather's den watching the TV, and then school was out for the rest of the day, and I was really, really upset about the the whole ordeal because Christine McCullough was a teacher on that fated trip, the ill-fated trip, and yeah, in school we learned that it was going to be a teacher going up there and like, oh, just like you, teacher, and then you could die. They could send you to space, and then you could die. But then I think the next thing in the U.S.'s history that got ingrained in everybody's minds was where were you when uh, the '93 riots happened because of Rodney King, and then where were you when the O.J. Simpson uh, car chase happened? Where were you when the O.J. Simpson verdict was read? Uh, both of them, the criminal and the civil. And then, let's see, 9/11 for a lot of people. That was the one thing that they can point to that changed their lives the most. And then for a long time, I mean, like, for a long time, there's nothing that really, like, galvanized the whole country. I mean, yeah, there was the market crashes of 2008, and then there was the Occupy movement. Those were big things in my life, but for a lot of people, they weren't. You know, they did the way that they're still ingrained in my mind. But this thing is going to remind people that they were at home for months, and then those months turned into a year or more of change in everyone's life. This thing is going to fuck with us for so long. And I don't feel like enough people are listening to me. Okay, Spurgleberry Farm says on John Hopkins, click the U.S., then below it hit the right arrow arrow over to the States. Okay. Oh, shit. I just clicked off of it. Okay. I think he's going to teach me how to use the website. Okay, then it shows total deaths 260. Okay, and then when I click on China, it gives me all of them too. So it's 3,259. I was close. I said add them all up, it's probably around 3,200. Okay. Thank you for showing me how to use their wonky website. So I guess the last thing I wanted to share with you guys, since I have been shooting it an hour each day, the last thing I want to share with you is the 2 letters that I got from my university. Um, I don't have one of the walking letters that somebody can have if they're working in certain jobs to be able to read as an example, but I do have this. So the first announcement was talking about just practicum and internship themselves at my university, and it says, uh, "Hello, students. First and foremost, here at this university, we know that many of you are in areas that have been highly impacted by the novel coronavirus, and we extend our warmest wishes to all of you and those in your care. Please know that during this difficult time, we as an institution and department are doing our best to support all of our students near and far. We understand that all of you are in difficult places in terms of your academic pursuits." Yeah. For those of you just beginning with us, know that the weeks and months will require flexibility and patience as we adjust to a new normal and navigate challenges beyond our control. At this university, we strive to be collaborative, creative, and rigorous in our course delivery while providing a great experience for students, and this situation only magnifies our desire to provide you all the best possible educational opportunities. We have received many inquiries about residency PhD students and intensives master students scheduled for June, and we're providing this clarification to bring us all onto the same page as much as possible. The department is in consultation with the administration, and in conjunction with the statement, we'll be releasing a separate statement regarding intensives. That's that week every year I'm supposed to go in person to see them. And they list below a whole bunch of the requirements that we're supposed to have, and basically, uh, if they're for their internship and practicum, they're going to get a little bit of an extension, um, but uh, a lot of places are either just packing up, closing up their agencies, or going to telehealth, or in the case of some schools, just telling the kids to have such an extended break away from school that it's not going to line up well with the rest of the college semester for the interns that are trying to work at the school in order to get their hours. And so that's for school counselors. So this is just fucking up everything. Okay? It's just one big cluster, and everybody is going to be applying for different sorts of waivers and whatnot. Myself, I was on time with all of my hours and everything, and I believe I'll be able to complete my practicum hours. However, there is another assignment that I don't know that I'll be able to complete where I was supposed to be filming myself doing one on one therapy. And the cake rep accreditation requirements now allow for telehealth to be used for this. But um, I have to talk with my university to get a special permission to be able to do that. And once I do, I will be back on track. And the person who's reviewing the recording will just have to know that it's a Zoom room class. And so, or Zoom room session. And that's cool. I can do that, but it doesn't feel the same because I was setting up my whole rig of my camera and everything and filming things the way that they should have been done. I felt like I was doing a good job, and there was no way for me to have gotten ahead before all this change happened because I was being slowed down by the rule of you can't film another one until all the different people who were supposed to review the last one have already chimed in on what's going on with your style and technique and whatnot. So there was no way, that I could have had these filmed integrity. Okay, be a little challenged in getting that done. Um, and I know that there's going to be a lot of the people who are in my cohort of students that should have graduated at the same time as me who will not be able to graduate within my cohort. They're going to have to fall out and just like take more years to complete their degree. Also, um, graduations for anything are not happening this spring. If you are graduating high school or getting your undergrad degree or getting anything else where you're walking across a stage and people are like, woohoo, that's my girl. That shit ain't happening. Sorry. You can take pictures at home in your cap and gown and send them to all your friends on Facebook, but you ain't getting more than that. And even though my graduation is a year after this, I was kind of looking forward to walking across a stage in a commencement ceremony and putting that shit up on this YouTube channel, on Facebook, on everywhere. I fucking paid good money for this fucking education, so I'm gonna get my selfie. You know, unfortunately, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do it. You know, it might be something where they're just going to have to do a giant group call-in thing, and everyone's just going to have a little ceremony over the phone. How weak is that? That's just, ugh, it's not the same. Anyways, there were two letters, and I only read you an excerpt from one of them. The second one is in particular about my summer intensives, of which I was supposed to have two. I've already done one, and I did videos from there last summer. Now, this summer, um, here's the letter. As many of you know, in the Department of Counselor Education, we've got students around the world. Travel restrictions across the world have been put in place, and in an attempt to be proactive and consider the local community The Department of Council Education will not host intensives on campus. We've determined that requiring travel in the current situation would not be best for all concerned. Additionally, the university is located in an area in which travel accommodations are limited, and the local hospital services serve the entire area. And we're mindful that during this time of uncertainty, travel to a community with limited resources would not be conducive to a productive learning environment. Um, it's important to note that our CACREP accreditation is based on in-person intensive requirements, and we are only able to modify the requirement for the June 2020 residency and intensives. That's me. This year, modification will require that students attend virtually using the online Zoom video conference platform for the designated weeks. That intensives will still be required for all the other uh, students in different semesters, and requirements for all those students are outlined below in the letter. And then it goes on to say what everything's going to look like. Um, but even then, I'm guessing I'm going to get another letter with each semester telling me like what is allowed and what's not. On CakeRep's website, they actually, if you guys don't know what CakeRep is, it's the accreditation board that says what each school that offers um, counseling or psychology or like marriage and family and stuff like that, those kinds of therapies. Each of these schools has to conform to these basic rules and these requirements in order to say that their degree is CACREP accredited, right? So on their website, they say that telehealth can be used for your uh, and that's good for me because that's going to be my life for the next couple of years. And thank you guys for training me well in uh, how to be online and talk to people. And as I'm getting this office reset up for that, these nightly streams that I've been doing are probably going to add one or two of you per night to some sort of either Skype or Discord or even Zoom access to be able to speak with me in a conversation rather than just me didactically putting my own opinions out there. I'll allow a couple people to get on this with me because I will be hella set up by the time this is all set up like an office. So take a good look. I think I'm going to keep the chair. And yeah, the rest of this shit, I can't say that it's going to stay the same week after week in the coming weeks because I'm going to make it look more professional. Less shitlord with the shitlord sunglasses. More just leather couch. Maybe some picture in a frame back there. Achieve or goals or you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. One last check at your comments. Spurgleberry Farm is talking about B&O's website giving new cases and new deaths and percentile stuff. I'll have to check that out. Quick Ticket says because Trump is the greatest president ever. Um, oh, Sperleberry Farm says they're seeing about 10% positives from tests. Uh, wow. There's actually a day last week where I was so over the top with anxieties that I just sucked in from everybody else that I was like, am I actually feeling symptoms? And then just my perception that I couldn't actually tell really if I was like being fatigued from a germ or um, but I woke up and I never had a dry cough, and I never had any of those symptoms. Never. During that time, I took my temperature and I had like a perfect temperature, so I never had a fever. But yeah, 10%, huh? That's 10% of people who get tested actually come up with it. That means all of 90% of people thought they had the symptoms. Let's see. Chris says, crazy we don't have hospitals prepared for this. Makes no sense. I actually have friends working in the hospitals right now that when I worked in the detox, a couple of the nurses, they graduated out of working in the detox by using their already working for the companies and then, you know, applying for other jobs within because it's easier to get promoted from within the company. So they applied internally and they got to put in places all over the hospital that have nothing to do with coronavirus. And then the hospitals just reclassified a whole bunch of nurses and said, okay, all of you are now coronavirus nurses. And so one in particular I know has a baby that's under 1 year old, and she's got to go to work and treat people who are positive with the coronavirus. And I know she's especially worried about bringing something home and her baby getting it. And she puts out on Facebook, please people stop buying the N95 masks. We need them at our hospital. They've now rationed us one mask per 12-hour shift. And I know those masks can get nasty after like 30 minutes, and they're only rated for like 30 minutes, but then somehow they put out an email saying, oh, yeah, the masks say that they're only rated for 30. Their ration is one every 12 hours. So, yeah, mind blown. Um, Next comment. Hillary says it's also going to permanently change the global economy, and I think that's why China is misreporting their numbers, is because they know uh, the U.S. has a bunch of racist people who will not forget for 20 years. You know, I'll buy something Japanese and not thinking about Pearl Harbor, but that wasn't in my lifetime. I'm gonna fucking remember the Wuhan cough. All right, I'm gonna remember it was those wet markets that caused it, and I'm not going to buy anything on Wish.com until all of this shit is over. Right? The Wish app, fuck it. I haven't bought anything on Wish for like 8 weeks now. You guys know I used to do like a little retail therapy and like buy shit, and then it would arrive, and it's like having little gifts pop up in your mail. It was so fun, right? Um, I actually got these crappy uh, this crappy paintbrush where the hairs come out too much. You know, you could maybe use this for like painting kanjis and stuff, but really these hairs, they come out of the paintbrush way too easy. So yeah, not very good quality at all. Hard to put this back on. I don't know if I'll be able to put it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, very crappy made. $1 for three of them paintbrushes. You know, and I got them one day, and I was like, oh look, they've got this nice little rating on it. Right, that's cool. I will find some way to use them for one of these art projects that I put out to you guys. Either on this. Let's see. Sprinkleberry Farm said, this is a Darwin event that will select for people who follow directions and plan. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of preppers that live, and they're going to pass on their prepper genes. Yeah. Let's see. Jamie wants me to talk about David Rockefeller and the New World Order. I don't know about that kind of stuff. Hillary says, no global government, no global currency. Okay, you see what side you're on. Spark says, Costco and Walmart count people through the doors and cash registers via video. Set up to know how many registers to keep open. Quintica says that wedding party should be stoned. Oh, wait. Somebody named Jake Nehus is here. Hey, Jake. I've known a Nehus before. He says his great uncle is a beautiful kisser. Okay. Um, Spurg says Amazon Ring already gives video of delivery, including delivery inside your garage. Awesome. Home Depot has online order, service desk pickup. That's correct. And you still have to go inside for that stuff, though. But I want like uh, some buff college dudes who work out to put all the shit that I order at Home Depot in the back of my truck. Or if I take my flatbed trailer, I will accept them just putting it all on one skiff and then like using a forklift to set it in the flatbed trailer, and then I can leave that way. Um, Spurg says video is stuttering, buffering a lot tonight. I couldn't tell you why. I'll hook up some other cameras. Let's see. Hillary says that her first biggie was the moon landing and first disaster was Watergate. Wow, Hillary, you are dating yourself. Chris says 10 million people die from cancer annually. I don't see this being a big deal. Okay, so first they started with like shark attacks. Then they said, oh, this is not going to be even as big as the flu. And now you're finally getting to, oh, this isn't going to be as big as cancer. And then when it gets bigger than that, you're going to say, oh, this isn't as big as heart disease, fatty. Why don't you stop eating food, fatty, if you're going to be a prepper? And then you're going to be like, it's not as bad as like smoking, you know? it's a preventable death. We're working hard. And unfortunately, in this case, it's a preventable death that, in order to prevent it, we've got to get everybody on board. It's yourself because it's like the community spread thing. Jamie's highlighting my name with the at symbol again. You have to read your comments and respond to your viewers, otherwise they won't listen to you. Dude, I everything that I'm saying is a response to you guys. It's just I go off on tangents. That's why you guys watch. Like I wanted to be done with this show at an hour in, and now I'm at an hour 12. Um, I'll get better though because when I'm using my actual computer screens that are in front of me, um, instead of just hopping on my phone and showing you guys this angle, it will be better because I'll have the ability to track what you guys are saying as I'm talking. What you guys are saying actually fades away on the phone live streaming. I have to keep on touching the phone in order to see what you're saying. Spurg says, introverts rise up. Our time has come. Hillary says, I eat introverts. An introvert and an extrovert when we're talking about, say, engineers. An engineer who's an extrovert looks at your shoes rather than their own. School situation is nightmarish. Yes, it is. Tika says we're about to be fitted for matrix pods. No, but we're going to be asked for our papers when we're traveling, and that's Nazi-ish enough. Spurg says, invest in VR goggles. Sales will probably go through the roof. Wow. That's a good one. I'll let you guys know my strategy right now is to wait for all the markets to crash, including the housing market, and then on the New York Stock Exchange, there's X and there's NUE. Both are steel companies. And if X hits lower than like $2, I'm snatching it up. And if NUE hits below 10 at any point, I'm snatching it up because I predict X in 5 years will be back up at around the 40s range, and NUE might be up to 100. You know, their stock isn't having as much of a swing, but I say 5 years for X because one of rewarding U.S. manufacturers instead of foreign manufacturers of steel. Um, it's actually hurting the stock price of X since Trump came into office. It's been steadily going down and kind of bottomed out at around 5. Now I'm thinking it could make it to 2 after all of the people die that own houses and the housing market gets flooded. So wait till the housing market's flooded, then look at the prices of steel, both for X and NUE on the New York Stock Exchange. And then, at the bottom, invest, buy low and then sell high when it goes high again. Because just like every other time that we've had something ding the population of the world for a little dent in the logarithmic growth, the growth comes right back. We are the cancer. Let's see. Oh my goodness, you guys have been talking this whole time. Shadow Shroud says, I farted. If you fart on camera, you better mute. Farting promotes social distancing. I didn't think about that. That's yeah, it's accurate. Let's see. I think I got to the end. It says there are people in the 70s who remembered Pearl Harbor and refused to buy Japanese. Hmm. Now, people in the unions here, they will buy Japanese cars if the plant is in America. So, like, if it's a Toyota Tundra, they'll look at the VIN number to see if it was one that was made in Texas, right? If it's a Mitsubishi, it's the same thing. Volkswagen cars, um, they will check the VIN numbers to make sure that it was U.S. made, and if it wasn't, and it's in the parking lot of a place that's a union construction job going on, that car will get flipped. So I've seen it. It's unions can get scary that way. Um, Last one I'm responding to is a psychonaut who says, my husband works in the production of truss plates for the frames of houses. They have been working major overtime. Their projection is that the housing market is going to boom. Okay, well, my projection this entire hour and the hour before from yesterday is that a whole bunch of motherfuckers who are living in houses right now are going to die. If they're not living in houses, they're in the rental market. Both of those markets are about to experience a flood of vacancy because of all the deaths. Now, uh, it could just be, people quarantined in place don't like to buy houses that they can only see virtually. It could come down to that. That's the reason why people aren't moving and buying houses. Fine. It could be that the stock market crash is always followed by a housing market crash. It could be just the general depression that we're about to head into. All of that, but I am shorting steel. Okay, that's my ever gambling odds you think are best for what's going to explode. Like Spurg says that VR headsets are going to be in order. By the way, just like the run on toilet paper, a lot of people have been trying to move to working from home and buying up all of the webcams. So invest in webcams, of all things, a technology that's been around for a very long time. But it's because everyone is moving to working from home. So it's another tip if you're looking for short term gains. Uh, Walmart is up, Kroger is up, McDonald's is up like 8%. You know, there are some companies that are still profitable through all this. But um, if you're looking for a giant dynamic range, look at the industries that will be the most affected by what's about to happen to us. And I'm not the best at monetary advice. I'll I will admit that up front. Um, but if you have the money to gamble with, and you're just thinking that you want to make one of those moves that could change your life forever, instead of looking at this as just the millions of people that are about to die and all the grief that's going to come from that, you can be prudent about your finances and gamble wisely and maybe use the money in the future to make life better for people. Maybe make sure that this can't happen again to you and yours. Trust that if you don't, act prudently, somebody else will reap the benefits because there's always somebody there that's ready to make a profit off your misery. Well, I guess that's the end of Depression Quest version 2.0 for the night. I'm going to get some sleep and I'm going to hit the workday really hard tomorrow. I'll come back with whatever new strange shit that I've heard of. In the meantime, you all take care.